Hello and welcome to Retirement Solutions, the podcast. So grateful to have you here today. This is Ryan Thacker along with my brother Tyson. We're the hosts of Retirement Solutions, the podcast. And boy, we have a great episode today. One of the things that we want to talk about today is, if you think about the end of the year coming here in 2025 at the time that we're making this podcast, what is the one thing that could potentially save you six figures? That's right, six figures in taxes that you would pay during retirement. If you had the opportunity, would you do it? Well, there are powerful tools available to you right now, and that's exactly what you could do. Some of the most savvy and successful investors in our country today, they use this tool to save themselves a fortune in taxes. And it's been referred to as a quote. Here's the quote: the best retirement planning tool available to you today. Think about that. What is the best available retirement planning tool available to you today? Well, what we're referring to is a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. And in this episode, we want to take a deep dive in this area. And we want to talk about, why are today's low tax rates making this such a compelling opportunity right now? And how could a Roth help you avoid required minimum distributions or RMDs, help you avoid these tax surprises later in retirement that, when we've helped tens of thousands of families make an informed decision in retirement, we see this is one of those areas that always comes up as, hey, why are the taxes so much bigger as I get older through retirement? And why taking advantage of this before the end of the year could be one of the smartest moves that you make. So Tyson, how you doing today, man?
Man, doing great. I'm excited about this discussion because, Ryan, we talk about this all the time, that taxes can be the biggest needle mover in somebody's retirement years. And they don't even realize it. It has nothing to do with how much of a return they get in the stock market. It has nothing to do with how much that they want to, focus on. Am I getting a 15, 20, 25% return in the stock market's been at all-time highs for a long time. We've had this bull market for almost 2 decades now. But believe it or not, we are enjoying some of the lowest tax rates in U.S. history as well. And that's why this becomes such a big needle mover in somebody's retirement. But so many people, they just think, well, I know that I want to swing for the fence and get a great return on my portfolio, but they don't think about it from what else can I do to keep more money in my pocket. And thanks to the tax cuts that were originally passed in 2017 and just recently made permanent this last summer with the One Big Beautiful Bill, this becomes something that most people are shocked by the difference that it can make in their own retirement and what it looks like. And one caveat to all of this, though, is, so we talk about how big of a needle mover it is, but here's the reality. With these lower tax brackets that are permanent, or at least quote unquote permanent, right? There's no guarantee that they're going to stay low forever. In fact, you think about how many times administrations change, or whether it's Republicans or Democrats passing bills in Congress, priorities shift. And with the national debt now topping $38 trillion with a T, it's hard to imagine a future where taxes don't eventually have to go up, whether that becomes fewer deductions or higher rates down the road. In fact, one of the things that most people don't even know that's in the One Big Beautiful Bill is there's some charitable donation limitations that have been put into that bill that make it harder for somebody who's very charitable minded to be able to donate a lot. So there's a lot of complexity here, in other words, when we talk about taxes. And that's why we want to talk about this today, is we want to cut through the clutter. We want to help you to understand what the tools are that can make a huge difference in what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're doing it. And so, Ryan, what does this look like from the perspective of how we help people? What are the tools that we can talk to people? Because most people have an IRA or a 401k, but why can that be a problem even if they've been great savers?
Like I mentioned, Tyson, earlier, we see things different because we see the actual people who are coming into retirement. Here's an interesting statistic. 93% of the people that come into our offices at B.O.S. Retirement Solutions and Advisors, 93% have their money inside of an IRA or 401k. Traditional.
Yeah.
Traditional. So, just as that's compounded over the years, we now manage billions and billions of dollars for the families that we serve. And so much of that is just in those traditional accounts. And I think if you look at, as you're listening to this, you think about, okay, where is my money saved? Most of the time you think, okay, maybe I have some money at the bank, and that's kind of like my emergency fund.
Yeah.
But I set it and forget it on my 401k, and I've just been making the automatic payroll deductions. It's been going in. Maybe your spouse or partner, they've been doing the same thing, and all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you're 55 years old or you're 60 years old, and you realize that that's where you save all of your money for retirement, and all of it's riding on the stock market. All of it's, everyone's been really happy because the market's been going up, but then you take a look at it. Okay, what does this mean? And I think this is where we need to talk a little bit, Tyson, because if you save the money in your traditional IRAs and 401ks, you've got a big problem. And the looming problem is that you haven't paid taxes on any of this money. So we always talk about the three tax buckets: the taxed always bucket, the taxed later bucket, and the taxed rarely bucket, or the tax free bucket. Well, 401ks and IRAs fall into that taxed later bucket. And this is, when you retire, every single withdrawal that you take out of your IRA or 401k, that is ordinary income. So it's just like a paycheck that comes in. And, if you think you can avoid these taxes by not taking withdrawals, because a lot of people are like, hey, maybe I don't need this money, I can just let it grow and compound. Well, once you hit your early 70s, so it's now age 73, Uncle Sam he forces you to take out these required minimum distributions, even if you don't need the money. So if you look at the 93%, Tyson, of the families that we help,
Yes.
that's almost everything. That's almost everything that you've saved for retirement. And that's why we spend so much time talking about how do you get this into a taxed favored environment. And that's the good news. That's what we want to talk about, right, Tyson?
Yeah. When you talk about that tax favored bucket, it's a strategic move that can help you take control over your tax situation and really put it into your terms. We talk about this as Washington proofing your own retirement, that you take control instead of Washington taking control and waiting for the government to decide how much of your retirement savings you get to keep. And so the primary tool that it could be used here from a strategy perspective is a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. Now, let me talk about the Roth 401k first. It wasn't too long ago that there was some changes in Congress that they passed a bill and said, look, everybody has access to, we want every retirement plan to have a Roth 401k. So if you're not contributing right now to a Roth 401k, you ought to look at the options that you have at your current employer and start putting at least some of the money in there, because you pay taxes up front, but then it all grows tax free for the rest of your life, and you'll never pay taxes on qualified withdrawals again. Because if you have everything in a 401k or an IRA, you get that deduction upfront that's exactly the opposite of a Roth. But then every single time you withdraw money out of that account, you're going to be paying taxes. And if taxes go up, like we're talking about that they have to because of the $38 trillion tax bill that continues to get bigger, then your tax rates are going to go up too throughout the years, and you're going to have less money with required minimum distributions. Whereas we want you to be more like Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel, you may have heard this story, maybe even from us before, but in 1999, he was a co-founder of PayPal. And he purchased 1.7 million shares of PayPal for less than a penny a share.
Let me do the math, Tyson. I just did the math here.
Yeah.
So Peter Thiel, those 1.7 million shares of PayPal,
yep,
were purchased at 0.001 of a dollar. So he bought 1.7 million shares for $1,700, which the beautiful thing about that is at the time there were restrictions on how much you could put in a Roth, right? Well,
Yes.
guess what? $1,700 was under that threshold. So Tyson, what did it turn into?
This is what's crazy is that same account now, that $1,700 that he put into it because PayPal grew and grew and grew. That same Roth IRA is now worth 5 billion with a B, $5 billion because all of that growth occurred inside the Roth and he doesn't owe a dime in taxes on this money. Now, that came from Forbes. That's not just some story that we picked out arbitrarily. This is something that's well documented. In fact, there's a lot of people who have now screamed from the rooftops that that's not fair. Well, here's what is fair is that if you understand that tax law is just a sequence of things that the government is encouraging you to do from a tax perspective, you can utilize that to your own advantage. It doesn't mean that you're not going to still pay your fair share in taxes. Everybody wants to have great fire departments, great schools, police that protect you, roads, all that kind of thing that build infrastructure and make society here in America great. But you also don't want to pay more than your fair share. So if you understand this series of incentives that the IRS puts in place, then you could be your own junior Peter Thiel and do the same thing. And so what we're saying here, what we're trying to express as clearly as possible is with interest rates or with tax brackets low, with stock markets at all-time highs, you have this window of opportunity to do what's called a Roth conversion. And you ought to be doing it when your earned income is low before required minimum distributions begin. Ryan, why don't you go and maybe even share an example or talk a little bit more about why this is so important right now, this window of opportunity that everybody has.
Well, here's what's great. I mean, a lot of times people, when you hear that story of Peter Thiel, you think about, oh, well, that's great for him because it worked out and it's now worth $5 billion. Well, remember that started at $1,700. That investment, that initial investment in PayPal on all those shares. So we like to look at where are you strategically making your investments? You know what? I think so many people just think, well, I've got an IRA or 401k, and here's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to buy some investments in it. I'm going to buy some S&P 500, or I'm going to buy some Apple stock or some Nvidia stock or whatever it is that you're going to be buying. Well, we want you to get into this strategic mindset and thinking. And the reason why this is such a golden era is with tax rates being at 40-year lows, you can use the tax brackets to your advantage. Now, when you look at a tax bracket, there's all the different percentages and marginal tax brackets. People ask us all the time, what's your favorite tax bracket? Well, people expect us to say zero. Well, for most of the families we work with, that's just not realistic to be in a 0% tax bracket. But our favorite tax bracket is the 24% tax bracket. And here's why it's our favorite is because the strategy that you can use between the 22 and the 24% tax bracket that were part of the original Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that President Trump put in place back in 2017 and are now also part of the One Big Beautiful Bill extension is those expanded tax brackets help you to be able to do some strategic planning. And when you look at those brackets, here's the strategy. Let's say that you're making $100,000 a year and you've got $1 million in a traditional 401k. One of the strategies that you can do is a Roth conversion. Now, a Roth conversion, this is not a do-it-yourself project. This is something that you want to make sure that you have some help with and some guidance because there's lots of traps that are complicated and confusing, and you want to make sure that you get this right. But let me just give you some examples. You're making $100,000 a year. You've got this $1 million in a 401k. You could strategically use all of these brackets, the room in those tax brackets to convert money over, pay the taxes on it, and then get that into a Roth.
Yeah.
Now, here's the power of the Roth. Once you pay the taxes, and let's say you pay the taxes at 24%. Well, because those are historically low rates, I mean, with the national debt and all these other things going on, it's likely that they're going to have to raise taxes. Why not take control, Washington proof your retirement, and strategically convert that from a
Traditional IRA or 401k.
over to the Roth?
Yeah.
Yep. And and then imagine this. Imagine how good this feels. All of a sudden, instead of having to take out required minimum distributions and not have any control and not have control of what the tax rates are going to be in the future, every time you make a withdrawal, it's tax free. Let's say you turn that into an income stream. Every time that income stream comes out to you, like let's say you had an annuity inside of there that was kicking out a guaranteed income stream. Well, that income stream is now tax free. That income stream doesn't count against your Social Security provisional income calculation that is going to force you to pay higher taxes. It's not going to affect your Medicare premiums as you go through retirement. This is the way that you can be like Peter Thiel. You may not have co-founded PayPal, but why not Washington proof your own retirement and be able to get in there and make this so that your retirement is tax free and you've got complete control over what you're doing. It's awesome.
So let me restate and summarize what we just talked about, just to make sure it crystal clear for anybody who's listening. First off, we recommend, for most people, you're not going to make all these conversions at once. And even before that, most people think, well, I can't even do a Roth IRA. I make too much money. No, this is conversion. This is what's called a backdoor Roth, where you have the ability to take what you already have and convert it from a traditional IRA or 401k into a Roth IRA. And and for most of you, we don't recommend it. In fact, we've had some people listen to a podcast like this from us before and come in and say, "Hey, I was really excited about what you talked about, so I just converted my entire 401k over into a Roth." No. That's going to push you into a higher tax bracket.
Yes.
And so, as you stated, Ryan, for most of you listening, we help you to spread the conversion out over several years, doing smaller strategic conversions to make sure that you stay within that lower tax bracket, that tax bracket that's going to be most favorable, like you talked about, Ryan. So it's all about timing. It's all about control. This is not, as you mentioned, Ryan, a do-it-yourself project. This is something, we've done this thousands upon thousands of times for people as they get to and through retirement. The best time to do this is before you have required minimum distributions. So you most likely will never need to have required minimum distributions. Another really important piece of this is a great time to make the move. At the time we're recording this, it's November of 2025. You've got a really great picture of your income, what deductions look like right now, any bonuses that you may be receiving from your job. And we can help you calculate how much to convert really accurately without making that mistake of going into a higher tax bracket. But here's the key. You can't wait too long. Roth conversions have to be completed before December 31st. And a lot of places will say you can't do it after the end of November or the 5th of December. There's all these arbitrary guidelines just to make sure that you don't miss your deadlines. But we can help you to do this right now. We can make sure that you get this done in the correct way and start this amazing snowball of future tax-free income. And income is what it's all about in your retirement years. And that's why we love to shout this from the rooftops. That's why we love to give this information, because we feel like if we help give information to good people, well, those good people can make great decisions together with us here at B.O.S. Retirement Solutions and Advisors. We can totally flip this on its head. You may be worried about how you're going to retire, but if you've got, say, $500,000 just from doing something like this, you can make your $500,000 in a lot of cases work more like $1 million. Or if you've got $1 million, you can double it to about $2 million because of all the extra money that you can keep in your pocket. That's what's so exciting about this strategy that we help people with every single day.
I love it so much. And Tyson, I'm thinking that since we've all planned our own individual retirements, that that money's going to be coming out tax-free. I think it's time that you buy me a tax-free lunch, Tyson. That's what I'm thinking, and we might as well go to Ruth Chris or something like that.
Hey, with the advice you gave me today, I'll do it. I'm happy to do it.
I love this. Tyson, when you talk about it's not a do-it-yourself project, here's the area that we really start thinking about this. Kind of the minimum is when you've saved about $300,000 for retirement. So, it's just kind of a good, number to just know from a guideline. And then obviously, if you've got several $1,000,000 saved for retirement, the impact is going to be meaningful as well. But I just thought, while you're listening here, it's the end of the year. Maybe you don't want to put this off a little bit. I'm just going to throw out our number here that you can call and schedule a free Roth analysis. You can give us a call at 800-769-7550. That number's 800-769-7550. Take action. Start Washington-proof your retirement right now. We hope this has been helpful for you today, and we look forward to watching you enjoy a tax-free retirement on the beach or at your cabin or spending time with kids and grandkids. That's why we do this here on the Retirement Solutions, the podcast, is because we believe good information to good people, you can make great decisions. Have a great day, everyone.